Finally, I will, my distinct pleasure to invite Gaurav Singh. And Gaurav Singh is, he has done a lot of work in actually spreading the message, teaching children, and doing a weekly study group for many, many years. And he's also been instrumental in communicating the message for our community to police departments, the TSA, and the FBI. And also is an organizer of today's event. So he will be our final speaker, Gaurav Singh.
The sovereign are wondrously enlightened, wondrous enlightenment. I know it's been a long day, so I thought an English rendition of Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh would be in order. I thank you all for your active listening, because we've had some very powerful messages from various traditions and peace in multicolor. So you've heard that service is very important to each of our faith traditions. And I want to explore with you, in light of Sikhi, when is service a pathway to peace? When is it a pathway to something other than peace? And how would we know the difference? Now, peace comes from within. By now, this adage is ubiquitous. But peace itself remains elusive. We know about our contemporaries, Nelson Mandela for one, who was at peace in the most trying of circumstances. So how? And Mandela was at peace because his peace did not depend upon circumstances. If it did, then clearly lengthy imprisonment and torture aren't the most obvious ways to peace. Peace is in my hands. Peace is in your hands. However, it depends. Who are you? What is your relation with the world? Mostly, our problem is with others. And it is so since we are not at peace with ourself. Service as a pathway to peace from the viewpoint of Sikhi is about who I am being in relation with the other. Now, we overuse the label service without really examining our own motivations and what we are hoping to get by the doings that we call service. Here's the thing. Service is not a doing. The word Guru Nanak uses for service is Seva. Seva is being of service. Seva is not doing service. Let's get this distinction. Of course, we're always doing something, even when we're not. Seva is not a means to serve my selfish needs and desires. It isn't about being recognized by those we wish to impress. Maybe our fellow people. Maybe God. Our doings are out of fear or greed. They are selfish, not selfless. But if not a doing, then what is this service as being? Back to the initial questions. Who are you? And what is your relation with the world? As human beings, we like definition. We fix ourselves within boundaries and are comforted when the box we find ourselves in is familiar. Well, Guru Nanak's perspective and Sikhi is exactly not that. Being comfortable and bounded, usually by others, but as much as by ourselves, is not the Sikh way. Always growing, always challenging the boundaries so as to operate out of freedom, and challenging religious orthodoxies and empty rhetoric so as to operate out of our divine and sovereign nature. That, my friends, is the way of Nanak, and that we call Sikhi. Seva is not merely service. It is inextricably linked with another pillar of Sikhi, Simran. And Simran is to be connected with the reality of one. Are you here? I mean, really here and present to your own and to my magnificent self? Or are you operating out of a sense of disconnect with the world where you and all others are separate? This message has been repeated several times and was powerful. Is your sense of me, your family, some friends, your co-religionists, your nation, your sports team, go Bears, whatever? Well, if it is limited to merely that, then what we're engaged in isn't quite Seva. Am I present to yours and my magnificent self? And if I am, then I am in the presence of God. Because that is all there is. Gurbani, the word of the enlightenment, begins with Ik Oankar, one infinite manifest. One is all there ever is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be. Am I present to that fact? And if I am present to that truth, all my doings, all my actions emerge from that being of service. Then, when I see someone in need, I am of service, at peace, and there to help one be at peace. Not out of greed, not out of fear, both of which are born of duality, the sense of other, and it's also from self-preservation. But to live an integrated and authentically peaceful life, I shall draw upon the fundamental creed of Sikh enlightenment. Sikhs popularly call it Mool Mantar. It is the essential perspective to come from when we consider the universal wisdom within the Guru Granth. It is which starts every one of the 31 rag or the musical measures, every single chapter and topic of consideration within the Guru Granth begins with this. It is a constant reminder and available for a seeker and a Sikh to be present too in their Simran and active remembrance. Ik Oankar, my being is at peace because there is no other. All there is one. Sat Nam, my being is at peace. When I am authentic and not contrived for advantage over others. Why? Well, because there is no other. Karta Purakh, my being is at peace when I am creative, not frustrated that the world didn't show up the way I wanted it to. Nirpao, my being is at peace as there is no one to fear or dominate and no one for me to be fearful of. Because there is no other. Nirvair, my being is at peace because there is no enmity. What would our world be like if I were not constantly in opposition? And what does that mean to Sikhs, who are well known and respected as a martial people? Akal Murat, my being is at peace regardless of where and when I am. Not only at a gurdwara, church, a temple, or a mosque, in places where I seek peace and sanctuary. I am not fundamentally at peace when meditating in the mountains or behind closed doors. That is merely the silence of the mountain and of the closed environment. This self-generated, connected peacefulness is a way of my perpetual human being. Ajuni, my being is at peace, and I do not consign myself to repetitive, self-destructive cycles of habit and base propensities. Sapam, my being at peace, emerges from myself. It is self-generated, and it will not come from outside. It is not something that I go looking for outside of myself. Guru Prasad, peace, I find in my life as I walk on an enlightened path. This is not something to be believed in. Belief will not give me peace, nor will it save me. It is my faith, which is synonymous with trust, strengthened by my walking that path, in living that way of being, which gives me the prasad, or the gift of peace. When my deeds are aligned with the purity of this fundamental creed, then it is seva. Lest it sow the seeds of resentment and hatred. You see, we as Americans and religious communities like to recognize ourselves as givers, and many of us are who are engaged in a labor of love. But when our deeds of service serve us and are at the cost of those whom we claim to serve, like much of our domestic policy and foreign aid, which is coercive. It is aid, but only if you gut public interest regulations and serve interests of large corporations. It comes with strings attached and seeks to take advantage of people when they are at their lowest. Then that sows seeds of distrust, discord, and disharmony. It does not come from trust or faith, and it does not build trust or faith. If that is what we're engaged in, then we are not creating peace by our service. Rather, we are ensuring the lack of it. So, we got some powerful messages today. Let us be inspired by the coming together of universal enlightenment. Surely, the thread that is common to all human being, which enlightens human being, is being truly of service. And selfless service is, by definition, not about the one serving, but about the one being served. And being connected with the one being served. So that service, my brothers and sisters, is surely a pathway to peace. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.